All right. Hopefully, you're still with me. If you are, buckle in because things are about to become increasingly uncomfortable if they weren't already. And again, my objective here is not to try and make white people feel bad for hearing this. I apologize. I'm not trying to lecture to people of color who live through this and experience this every day. I'm not trying to induce trauma or pain or suffering. I'm trying to educate about the realities of race and racism that are happening in our society today. So we left off talking about stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination. Now let's lead into racism. So racism refers to prejudice and discrimination that is based on race. Now, the reason why racism has been able to endure throughout history and even currently in society, even after slavery was abolished, even after the Civil Rights Movement and the Civil Rights Act that made it illegal to discriminate on the basis of race, the reason racism is still a problem today is because it is institutionalized. So I'm sure many of you have been hearing this term institutional racism, or it's also referred to as systemic racism, coming up in a lot of discussions lately, especially after everything that's taken place this summer. And this refers to the way in which racism is embedded into the fabric of society. Racism is built into the institutions, it's built into the structures of American society. Now remember back to the first week of class when we introduced this concept of social structures, right? Social structures are durable. They are socially constructed frameworks built by humans in any given society that are designed to help shape and influence human behaviors, ideas, and beliefs, right? The social structures that are built in society are built to shape and influence human behaviors and beliefs, okay? So, if we accept the reality, which hopefully we do at this point, that the United States was a nation that was built on a racist foundation, we should also acknowledge that all of our social institutions, everything from employment to education to healthcare to law enforcement and beyond, have racist foundations too. Like I mentioned previously, racism and slavery existed in the United States before the United States was even conceptualized as a nation. I hope we can accept that. If you can't even get to that point of accepting that slavery was the basis of racism and that that was bad and inherently inhumane, then there's not going to be much advancing forward until you come to that reality. I hope at this point in the semester, everyone's able to grasp that from a sociological lens and understand how we assign value and power to humans in any given society, that we can acknowledge the existence of racism, that our society in the US was built on racism. And if we can acknowledge that and accept that, then subsequently, logically, we need to acknowledge that all of the social structures in the United States were built on a foundation of racism too. The evidence in this, right? People of color weren't allowed to work for pay. People of color weren't allowed to get educated. People of color weren't allowed to get health care unless specifically enslaved people of color, unless their slave owners decided that they deserved it. Law enforcement, people of color had no legal rights whatsoever. They were considered property for the first several hundred years that they were living in the United States. We need to recognize that racism was built into all these institutions. And just because certain laws were passed or policies that were put in place that attempt to correct these racist foundations, it's not like we just flick a switch and racism is all of a sudden gone. Poof, it disappears, right? That's not how it works in society, right? Given that all US structures such as the law, medicine, the workforce, education, etc. were created by a racist society, it's easy for people who are not negatively affected by racism, specifically us white people, to ignore this reality, despite the mountain of evidence that proves that the persistence of racial inequality in today's society is a continuous problem. So now let's look at some of this data that I've been talking about. What evidence do we have to prove that racism, specifically institutionalized racism, is still an issue in society today? Well, We see racial disparities in terms of education, especially in disciplinary actions in school. Black students are at risk of being expelled at 3 times greater odds in comparison to white students, and 4 times greater odds of experiencing suspensions in comparison to white students, even when they make the same infractions, even when they break the same rules in school. Studies show that black students, particularly black male students and even Latino male students, are more likely to be suspended or expelled in comparison to white students, even when they break the same rule in the classroom. All right. People of color are still experiencing discrimination in the hiring process, even though it's technically illegal to discriminate on the basis of race when you are hiring an individual for a job in the United States. Studies show that white sounding names are more likely to get interview callbacks than black sounding names. And this same study has been conducted in education as well. They found that white sounding students are more likely to have their emails replied to than students of all different races, including black sounding names, Hispanic sounding names, Indian sounding names, etc. We also see institutionalized racism in the wealth gaps in the United States. The median wealth of white households in the US is 16 times that of African American households and 14 times that of Latino households. And again, we can better understand this wealth disparity by considering the historical implications of racism. People of color, specifically African Americans, were not allowed to own property until very recently in United States history, whereas white people have been able to own property and accrue wealth and pass that on to their kids, their grandkids, their great-grandkids, etc. for centuries. That's a relatively current phenomenon for African Americans and even for Latino people in the United States, and we see that when we look at the wealth disparities that exist today. We also know that black people and people of color are over-criminalized in comparison to white people in the United States. This is interesting, especially considering that studies suggest that black people actually use less drugs than white people. However, black people are 6 times more likely to be stopped and searched for drugs in comparison to white people in the United States today. 6 times more likely to be stopped and searched, despite the reality that black people use fewer drugs than white people in the United States today. We also see racial inequalities taking place in our judiciary system. Time after time, we see evidence that people of color are convicted for longer sentences or receive harsher punishments for crimes in comparison to white people, even when the crimes are nearly or completely identical. One example here, both of these individuals were found guilty of raping an unconscious person. The person on the left, of course, is Brock Turner, who was glorified as being a Stanford student, an athlete, a swimmer, but found guilty nonetheless of raping an unconscious person. He served 6 months in jail. This individual on the right, accused of the exact same crime, serving a 15 to 25-year sentence. This is just one anecdotal example, but there is studies that suggest that even when the crimes committed are nearly identical, people of color receive harsher sentencing by the judiciary system in comparison to white people. We also know that black men are 2.5 times more likely than white men to be killed by the police, even if they are unarmed and non-violent. We know that people of color are more likely to have the police called on them simply for being or living, and that they are more likely to experience police brutality even in the comfort of their own homes. Just last year, we had Tatiana Jefferson, who lives in Texas, from Fort Worth, Texas. Her neighbor called the cops on her because she was in her own house. The cops busted in her house and shot her dead for living in her own house. Of course, since Tatiana, in just the past year, the past 12 months, we've had countless other African Americans, unarmed African Americans, being killed by the police, even in the privacy of their own homes, again, as the case of Breonna Taylor, and the recent murder of George Floyd, who was put in a chokehold for 8 minutes, while 3 police officers stood by and did nothing to this unarmed African American man, right? Health is negatively affected. The healthcare institution perpetuates racism. The infant mortality rate for African Americans is nearly triple that of white Americans. And the maternal mortality rate, meaning mothers that die giving birth, African American mothers also nearly 3 times more likely than white mothers to die giving birth. Now, this isn't just because African American infants are less healthy or that they are inherently or biologically inferior. It's due to the compounded structural racism. If you have access to less wealth because of the color of your skin, if you are less likely to be able to have or afford health insurance in our society because of the structural racism that affects your ability to accrue wealth, of course you are going to be more likely to receive inadequate health care. And as a result, you're more likely to die and have a lower life expectancy in the United States if you are a person of color in comparison to being white. And we see this also in the biases that medical staff and doctors have. One study found that doctors are 16% less likely to treat African American heart attack patients with life-saving surgery in comparison to white patients. I wish that was all the evidence I have, but I have more. Racism in the United States today. Again, while the KKK, neo-Nazis, and other openly racist groups still exist, they're still very much a problem in our society today, the majority of racist and discriminatory acts that occur today are more subtle and less overt. Nobody wants to own up. I shouldn't say nobody. Most people do not want to own up to being a racist. They don't want to say that they are overtly discriminatory against people of color. But what the data consistently shows, study after study after study after study, is that there is covert racism, subliminal racism, that runs rampant through our societies. Consider, for example, the way media headlines enhance stereotypes when a person of color commits a crime, right? Look at these headlines here. Virtually the exact same crime, right? These individuals all being accused of burglary. Look how these white individuals are portrayed versus these people of color who are portrayed for the same crime, right? These white people glorified for being college students, shown in suit and ties, right? In comparison to this image on the right here. And this is an unfortunate reality, again, of how media stereotypes certain people based off of their race to portray them in either a positive or a negative light. Again, mass murderers in the United States, when they're white, they get portrayed differently. And the vast majority of mass shootings in the United States are committed by white men. But the headlines you see of them look very different oftentimes than the headlines portrayed by people of color when they commit crimes. We also know that racial steering exists, which is a phenomenon wherein real estate agents direct prospective homeowners towards or away from certain neighborhoods based off of their race. I saw this so much in my previous town of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, one of the most racially segregated cities in the United States. You can see this map here. The blue areas, every blue dot represents a household that is occupied by a white individual. The green dots represent homes occupied by African Americans, and the orange dots, Hispanics, the red dots of Asians. You can see this very clear racial divide here. And I experienced this when I moved to Milwaukee. My real estate agent racially steered me into the white area of South Milwaukee down here. This is where I lived. And at the time, I didn't know any better. At the time, I didn't question why she wasn't showing me any homes on the north side of Milwaukee or the central part of Milwaukee where the housing markets were a lot cheaper. She was showing me these homes in this area here. And I didn't realize until years later, as I started to study and investigate the racial demographics of Milwaukee, how segregated this city was. And now when I asked my real estate agent why she's only showing me houses on the south side, she said, oh, it's just where she's from. My real estate agent was, of course, a white person at this time, right? So we see this. People get steered into certain directions based off of their race. There's also a practice of redlining where mortgages or mortgage lenders and banks refuse to send out loans to people of color or to businesses that are located in communities that are predominantly occupied by people of color. And we'll pick up on this idea of redlining in the next video.